Decorey Jones, FIBA professional athlete, father, salesperson, businessman, FIBA agent, entrepreneur, business owner. I wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is the management company going?
Management company has taken off, a lot of traction. A lot of players coming inbound because they see the work that we're doing. A lot of good work, a lot of good production, a lot of good results. From low level to all the way to NBA level, we're helping people, male and female.
Yeah.
So, word has caught fire. The team is growing. I'm having to get more staff to carry the workload. And it's a good problem to have. And I like to say challenge, like not problem. I like to say challenge. It's a good challenge to have, right?
Yeah.
Like I have so many people who want to reach out for help because they know there's a trustful resource, like someone actually legit that they can lean on and relate to, because I used to be a player. Like they can resonate with me. So they know like I'm going to have their best interests when it comes to doing contracts or giving advice, on playing opportunities.
Yeah.
So if they hadn't met you before, so you're talking about representing athletes basically playing worldwide.
Yeah,
That's what you're doing.
Worldwide prospective athletes from the NAIA, NCAA D3, NCAA Division II, NCAA Division I level. Even players that are playing currently overseas that maybe they're not having a great relationship or time with their agent. They're not getting them the right things they want that align with your goals. Or maybe it's just a guy that's been playing without an agent his whole career. And he's like, man, I need some guidance. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, So that's where we come in, like Dreamcatch management. I think, our vertical is helping athletes that don't have a GPS on their, in their car, when they're driving through their career.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what you guys, everyone needs a mentor. And I think the fact that the stories I've heard you tell, you've been through it, you have the experience, not just the experience of playing, but traveling and learning people and learning different cultures and then applying all of that to already your game on top of that. I think it's pretty fascinating. And so that's a huge win. A lot of people want to sit back and give like advice from the couch.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been on the couch in your life.
I try to stay off of it.
Yeah. How did you get to be a pro basketball player?
So it's crazy because like I was that kid that was in the bathroom with the paper ball and shooting it in the trash can, and I always visualized myself playing college basketball. Well, when I got to high school, that was my main focus. I just want to play college basketball. My favorite team was Kentucky Wildcats, right? So I used to follow them. I used to pretend I was them. I used to act like I even made my own highlight tapes and sent them off to Kentucky, knowing that I'm 165 pounds. What are the chances they're going to select me? But my mindset was there. Like I wanted to play college basketball. End up completing that.
Pull that just a hair closer to you.
Right here.
Yeah, a little bit closer to you.
All right, yeah. End up playing college basketball. And once that dream became a realization, professional basketball was a belief. And I'm like, man, I really could see myself playing at a high level, getting paid for it. And I used to say this all the time. What does it look like to play professional basketball, get paid for it, and not study? Right? That'd be awesome. So that was my next dream. Play professional basketball, make it a living, and not worry about anything else. And that eventually happened. And I just rinsed and repeated, made my own highlight tapes, reached out, prospected coaches, GMs, managers, talked to other former players, joined local leagues just to like get more film. And I just blasted it out, from daytime to nighttime, blasting. And when I got that first yes to play in Malaysia, that's when the snowball effect started happening. So, yeah, that's how it happened, 2012.
So it turns out there's a little more to playing basketball, professional basketball, than maybe you thought.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I didn't realize, especially like when you see something in the writing on paper, like we're going to give you 3 meals per day. We're going to give you bonuses if you win this game. And we're going to give you $6,000 salary per month on time on the 30th every month. Well, on paper, it looks great. But then it's like, economy situation, we're out of dollars. We can't, or sponsor says, hey, business isn't going well. We can't pay you this month. We got to wait a little bit longer. Or, hey, Corey, this player just came that's been on our radar. We got to let you go. This has been a player we've been wanting. Like, these situations happens from all levels, from NBA and down. And it's just a lot of uncontrollables and unexpected things that happen. And you got to have things in your contract as a player to protect yourself.
Yeah.
But when, like, someone like myself who is going without representation and I'm just playing for the love of the game, and I always ask that question as an agent to players, why are you playing? It's for the love of the game. That's not enough.
Yeah.
You got to do it more for just the love of the game, because this is a business now. This is a business, and there's sharks in the water. They're going to use your vulnerability of the love of the game against you, right? To get everything they want out of you, use you up, and spit you out.
Yep.
Right. So I didn't realize that part until I got down the line. I was getting these contracts and I kept getting cut time after time because I didn't have protection set up. You know, it wasn't performance based. It was just how I was moving.
Yep. Man, I think that's I mean, for any, so you've started your business now, your management business. So I think there's got to be a lot of parallels, because it is business at the end of the day. We talk to a lot of people who are hobbyists, and you know, I want to do those full time. Well, it's a mind shift, and you're right. It's not just for the love of it. You know, you're being paid now by somebody. And so it's no longer just for the love. It is a job. And with that comes all of those stipulations, the contracts.
Yeah.
And I think, I can't imagine coming out of college, coming off the high of getting signed pro, and then having to think about the fine print and to think about someone who's maybe not looking at that. So I'm curious, like, when you talk to people now, how do you even bring that up? Like, how do you get them from that elated state to, I know you're excited. Here's some business we got to take care of first.
Yeah. So the best stories tell and sell, right? That's my motto. Telling a story is going to let another prospect know this can happen to you too, right? I'm not going to tell you what I can do for you. I'm going to tell you a story that this actually happened, and I'll have multiple stories of them. So testimonials of actual data that, hey, if you don't have a guaranteed clause in your contract, or hey, if you don't have severances, if you get injured after, right? Or hey, what does 3 meals per day look like? Because 3 meals per day could be, hey, here's $50, right? And you're living in Dubai. You know, $50 is not going to cover 3 meals a day.
You're living on a Pop-Tart.
Yeah, you're living on Pop-Tart, right? So, like, you got to really get to the nitty gritty in these contracts, because these contracts are set up for the benefit of the team, not you.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. So
what are some of the biggest, hardest learned lessons from your time as a player that you pass along to other people now?
Man, one, I preach this every day to players. Like, in your contract, make sure you have, like I said earlier, put guaranteed in your contract. You want to protect yourself if anything happens, right? So if, you know, unforeseen circumstances happen, you know, at the end of the day, you can get paid, right? And I did that in Japan. I got cut and I was still getting a check while I was playing for another team. Next thing you know, I'm making $8K a month. Most money I ever made in my life, because I had that one term guaranteed in my contract, right? Instead of a team cutting me, and now I'm back at mom's house and I don't know what to do, and I got no money coming in. Flights, I always bring up flights. Make sure you have round trip flights, and make sure they book with certain airlines. These teams like to book with Spirit and these low budget airlines, and also they don't cover your bags. Make sure you have 2 pieces of bags covered. You just mentioned earlier off camera, like, man, I spent more on baggage than the flight.
Yep.
The player will come out of their pocket, and because it's not in the contract, team doesn't cover that expense. Now you've actually paid for your flight to go to the States. Vulnerability too. For me, it's they'll use your hunger to get overseas. They know you're desperate. And in sales, you know, I'm on my sales side of Decorey Jones now. It's like, in sales, don't show that you're desperate for the interview, the job, right? Or the prospect.
Right.
And a lot of players do that. Like, oh, I'll pay my flight. I'll pay my own meals. I just want an opportunity. Like, don't show all your cards, man. We know you're hungry. We know you can get over there. But there's scam artists out there too. So these scam guys, these fake agents will come in like, hey, give me $500. I'm going to get you a job. I'm going to do XYZ for you. And they'll pay $500 to $1,000 or even more. I know guys got scammed out of $3,000 because they were so thirsty and hungry for a job from a guy promising them their dream, the love of the game. So I think vulnerability management was something that I had to learn. I got scammed out of $300 because I was so hungry to just play overseas, for a job in Romania, right? Injuries. What happens when you get injured? Like, what happens? And what do you put in your contract to protect you if you get injured on their watch? They don't look at the fine print on that. I've seen contracts to where and this is really popular in the Middle East, if player practices with us for 2 weeks and he doesn't perform and we're not interested in him, like, all the cards are done. Like, we're just going to send him home. Contract's finished. Player is late to practice. We're fining him $300. Player kicks a chair because he's frustrated. And these terms are like fixed to where it's based off of their assumption, right? So they'll have a term saying like, if he has bad manners on the court or off the court, we have the right to cancel the contract. What are bad manners to you?
Very gray.
Yeah, it's very gray area. So there's a lot of gray areas in these contracts that these teams have a lot of leverage to just, let's get rid of this player and we can get somebody else. So it protects them from FIBA, right? From stepping in and, having favor on the player or having favor on the decision maker. So that's where a lot of teams, they love to deal with me, but it's a catch-22 as well because they know, like, hey, it's going to be fair for us too, right? Yeah. So
I feel like we may lose a lot of contracts because of your bad attitude.
Well, they just don't know me well. I have a question on what about, like, you represent a male and female. What about safety and security for the players in maybe another country? What's that like?
Ooh, that's a great question. So I just had a girl, her name's Destiny Samuel. She's going to Iraq. When you hear Iraq, what do you think about?
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah, you've been there. I mean, you were in the service. So, like, what we see on the news isn't what we see in basketball vertical. The basketball vertical is, hey, Destiny, you're going to get to Iraq. Everywhere you are, the team's going to be. You're going to be in the house at all times. You're going to go to practice with the team. You're going to go to the store with the team. You're going to go to the restaurants with the team. You're going to go to get therapy with the team. You're never going to be alone, right? There's a guy now in the Philippines. His name is Ricky Bryce. He has security that follows him everywhere because he's in a poverty city. But they love basketball. And he's like the Kobe Bryant over there. He just won a championship, right? So he has his personal security and from Philippines to help with that. And honestly, like I tell players, you can have all the security you want. At the end of the day, it's how you move, right?
Talk more about that, because part of the difference of playing NBA domestic and playing international is you're playing in different countries and different cultures. Like how much of a learning curve is that to figure out where you can go, how you talk to people, all of that, because you're not a tourist, right? Any of us can go to Mexico for a day and
you'd be fine.
You're fine, right?
Yeah.
Or you're on a resort. You're actually living with everyone else in the city on a prolonged period of time. So you are not a tourist. You are truly over there.
You're a target.
Immersed. You're a target?
You're literally a target because one, you have the blue card, the USA passport. Okay, that's one, right? So when you go to certain regions, especially the Middle East, you're a target, like off the bat. Two, you are a professional athlete. You're a celebrity. So yeah, when I say target, I mean it in a good way and a bad way. When I say celebrity, I mean it in a good way and a bad way. Which way do you want to take it? Or if you get taken out with the decision maker to a club and you have a few too many, how are you going to act? Right? Because when you talk to a European or a Middle Eastern guy and you're talking to his girl or his guy or whatever the case may be, and there's a confrontation, the favor's going to be with their people, not you. I know guys in China now that went to jail and we didn't hear from them, right? and they're calling and sending emails saying help.
Damn.
Like this has happened. I know a guy personally that just got out of jail last year, but his mom is just crying out for help on getting this guy out of Chinese jail.
Wait, so what was he put in jail for?
He was put in jail for helping a girl that was getting raped, right? Like 2 guys that were trying to rape her, and he went over there to try to help them. But what had happened was when the police had came, she had claimed that it was him because Chinese culture, right? Like, because it's a female, she knows if she would have snitched on these 2 guys, she was going to be done, right? So it's who, the American or my people or myself? And that's just one example, China, right? So
what was like what country was the one that you felt the most vulnerable in? Physically.
I think it's crazy. I would have to say
Alabama.
I'm trying to think because there's a few. I think Armenia, I experienced the most racism. And I think in China, I felt the most racism towards Americans. And that's being called the N-word. That's or because I'm American, you want to send me out to a security box because I have 2 bags, 3 bags, and you're going through them and you're wondering, hey, what is this? It's a massage ball, right? Oh, we thought it was a weapon. What? You know, and they'll do little things to see how you react. So when I'm educating my athletes, I'm telling them before you go to these countries, you have to prep yourself on do not react. Because once you react, they got you. They got you.
What do you mean by that?
Just react in a positive manner. Have a cordial conversation, right? We're not in America to where our voices are free, right? Like to a certain extent, we're free when we go overseas. But if you like blast out like cussing them out and this isn't right and you throwing your hands all around, things can get messy and then other people get involved. The favor is always going to be with their people. When you say the number 1 country, I will have to say Mongolia. When I was in Mongolia, they don't like you talking to their woman. When you're in a club, they're going to shoulder graze you, bump you, walk because they want you to react. Because it's they fight in groups. They're not going to fight us one-on-one. They know we're too strong. They're going to go 5-6 people. I got jumped in Mongolia before. This was at practice. I was trying to break up a confrontation between another American and the Mongolian. I tried to get in between it, and he hit me. And then another 4 or 5 came. And next thing you know, I'm getting jumped. So when you react, it has to be in a certain way so they don't have any like leverage to take it to a further level.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So traveling, adds a complexity to it.
Yeah.
So again, domestically, and I guess I'm using the domestic sports because that's what most people are familiar with. You have a team. You travel with a team. You travel on a team bus. What's it like when you're overseas in different countries, traveling and kind of being on your own and maybe with a small group of your teammates who are also from the United States?
Yeah, that's a great question. So once you get there, and that's another thing you got to put in these contracts. Like, as an agent, when I'm looking at transportation, is it Uber? Is it taxi? Is it bus? Are we flying to games? What does that look like? Am I coming out of pocket to go to my therapist, right, or my Creo therapy? What are we doing? So I really detail out the contracts for that. Usually, it's taxi, 2 games and from games paid for, right? And that's usually with the other Americans. Games is usually by bus, all right, locally. Argentina, they're known for 10 to 16 hour bus rides.
Wow.
Because it's so spread out. They don't have many airports. Okay, I mean the main one is Buenos Aires, and I think they got like maybe two more. Bolivia, there's maybe 3 or 4 airports, so we're on the bus all the time. I mean, longest trip can be 15 hours, but most of our trips average 4 to 6 hours, to play. But usually bus. You don't really fly unless it's really like top level Europe and you're having to travel to these other countries, right, to play in these Euro League challenges, Euro Cups, things like that, when it's country against country. Right. So I think the higher level you go, the better the transportation gets, if that makes sense. Australia, that was a great country for me. They gave you a car.
Oh, nice.
So you're able to the sponsor, like Camry, Toyota was our sponsor that year. I got to drive a nice, 2015 brand new Camry. It was awesome, right? Yeah. Practice games. I had to pay for my own gas, but that's another thing I learned. Like, okay, in the contract, they got to pay for my gas. Like little things like that, right? So, yeah.
So you start off with a donkey cart, and then you work your way up.
You work your way up. Right. You start off walking first, then the donkey cart.
Right.
So for people who don't know, like what is like FIBA? Like how is it built? What does the league look like?
Yeah.
How many teams? How wide ranging is it?
Okay, that's a great question.
What are the major differences compared to the NBA, which I think is what everyone's more accustomed to?
Yeah, so FIBA is just think about it as a government. All right, and this government has, they govern the United States. FIBA governs America and all the countries around the world, right? They are the source for if you need legal, transfer of players, competitions, organizations, everything from top to bottom, right? They are the stamp of basketball. I mean, you just seen Team USA win the gold medal. Guess what? FIBA was involved with that, right? And everything we do, FIBA is involved in some type of way, right? And I think it's important that we know that, if you're not playing in the NBA or WNBA, FIBA is going to be the source of your end all be all, right? So how does it work? Every country has their own NBA, right? Every country has their own NBA. The NBA is so large, they have their own government, right? So if anything happens, you're going through the NBA commissioner, or WNBA, they're going through their commissioner. They have their own. But when it comes to anything outside of that, and this is what makes FIBA so unique. If it's Slovenia, Slovakia, or Iraq, we have to go to FIBA. That's the one source, right? The one source of all. So, when it comes to any country, they have their own NBA. That's basically, and then it'll be in tiers. Like Australia, they have NBL. That's their top league. Usually bring in NBA guys, XG League, that type of thing. Then you got NBL 1, right? These are your guys that played, Division 1, really couldn't make it to the NBA. Division 2, All-Americans, NAI All-Americans, those type of guys. These are the guys that get into that league. Then you got Big V. That's the third league. These are the guys like me that, man, this guy's really good, played NAIA, and, he can hoop, but he has to prove himself first, right? And then Waratah League is like the bottom of the barrel, and I say that respectfully. It's like the ultimate starter league for a guy who has no stats, didn't do too well in college, but he has some talent, he has some potential, let's try him out, right? And these are the teams that have the lowest budget. You can see around $500 to $1,000 a month players are playing for in this league just to get, it's basically an internship job, right? So you got to work your way up in tiers. So I've just named off 4 leagues for just one country, and that expand with, 10 teams plus in each tier. So,
you keep talking about the contracts, which I think obviously is incredibly important and probably the one thing people don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
If there is a violation, what is your recourse? Is it FIBA? Is it then? So if,
FIBA arbitration.
Regardless of the country, it then goes back to FIBA, and then they work between you and the team owner?
Yep. So BAT, FIBA arbitration, we go through them. And I'm glad I'm on this show because there's just a loophole in the system. There's a hole in the system, and it's like pulling teeth to get money from teams. Even when you go to FIBA, it's still hard to get all your money. And like, there's not enough accountability in this industry. Like, teams are getting away with a lot, you know. Like, I'm even going through a situation with my past team, Pachincha. Like, you guys didn't pay for my bags coming back. I had to come out of $350 because you forgot to put the 2-piece baggage on my flights. And I'm like, FIBA makes it to where you got to pay $1,000 plus to submit even a request. And then that's the legal fee. Now it's like, damn, it's just $350. It's not even worth putting in a submission to go to FIBA to get help.
Right.
So how do I get help for getting this $350 back? There's no system set up in place for like mini claims like we have in America, the small claim court. We don't have nothing in place for that. So like deals 1,000 to, I'll say 7,000, 8,000. It's like we have no help. And they're working on things now. Like they put some new, stipulations up to where like we can go online. There's a portal. It's called the POP clause. And I still feel like it's not enough. Like, how do we get a clause to where it holds this account, this decision maker accountable, and for them to be transparent with FIBA and transparent with us on what's happening? But because there's so many loopholes, right? Teams are getting away with murder. Whether it's injury, whether it's like Japan, for example, like teams, if they don't pay their taxes on the player, then guess what? The other team has to pick up taxes on that player if he wants to play on another team, right? No one's going to touch that player if it's $200,000 worth in taxes.
Right.
These contracts are huge. You're talking about 10%, right? And 200,000, 10%. Like, come on, who's going to pay that?
Yeah.
And it's their tab. So it's just so many little things I see like, man, when are we going to do something about this?
Yeah. I mean, what do you even do about that, though? Because it's such a big corporation, not a corporation, such a big organization.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even start to tie that in?
The only way is we come together as players to really unite and make it be known, right? Also, if you're a coach, come with us. Like, it's to the point to where people are talking about it, but it's here, it's there, it's this year, it's this day. It's not united. If we all come together united and make it known that there's a hole in the FIBA system on getting our contracts, on a transparent level and holding decision makers accountable, I truly do believe they'll be more proactive in helping the athlete.
Yeah.
If you have, I think all this is fascinating because it's a world I don't know about. What if there's somebody out there who's an aspiring athlete who's interested? What's your contact info?
Yeah, so I have a website they can go to, dreamcatchmanagement.com. My Instagram, Dreamcatch Management. I usually have my email there as well. Contacting me, it depends, right? Like, I want to have systems in place to where, like, I don't want to waste your time, right? Like, I have to see value in you like you see value in me. And it takes a lot of time and effort to get a contract. It's not just we have a great brand and we're getting people jobs. Yeah, we have a great product, but at the same time, if I see a profile and I see like, man, it's going to be really tough getting this guy or girl a job, there's somebody else that can, probably be a better benefit to this prospect. And I let them know transparently, like, I can't help you.
Yeah.
I want to help everybody, but you can't help everybody.
You can't help everyone.
I wish I could. I want to. And I know there's a way, with financial backing, sponsors, more staff on with Dreamcatch Management. That's my long-term goal. But at the moment, it's like, I got to have the right people and help the right people that need the right help. And I'm helping you by not helping you, because I like a lot of agents, they'll take player. Now they have all these players and they're just sitting on ice.
Yep.
And they're like,
you're
hey,
not getting the attention needed.
No attention. Time is passing by. Hey, like that window closes for Europe, February, March, April, May, everyone's going to be signed. Like, you heard the phone call earlier, like, hey, like we're already in August. It's going to be a slim chance you get to Europe right now. Like, all the rosters are filled. They're already in training camp doing preseason games. Right. So there's windows of opportunity. Right. So yeah, you got to be strategic in this industry.
Yeah. You've been through a lot, like without question.
Yeah.
And you started with an idea and essentially a dream, right?
Yeah.
And I think that translates more than just basketball. It's kind of, whether it's business, art, it kind of translates to almost anything and anybody. So I guess what I'm trying to ask you is, if you could talk to somebody who is young, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, who has an idea that they want to make a reality, what would be the biggest advice you could give them?
I would tell them, go for it. I would also tell them, focus on that only. If you want to play professional basketball, make sure you have that fixed mindset on playing professional basketball. And I also would tell them, I want you to know what it would look like if you don't make it to professional basketball. And here's why. There's a lot of players who pursue the NBA, pursue the G League, pursue overseas basketball, 2, 3, 4 years, all this time's passed, and they're not building their workforce resume. And all this time's passed, you could have, worked your way up from, a business development representative to an account executive making 6 figures, right? So, or you could have been studying the stock market, right? Started from square one, and by year 4, you've gained this knowledge. Now you're making 6 figures, 7 figures trading stocks. And that was my main failure. I didn't work on intangible skills while I was pursuing my dream. I was just focused on just hooping basketball, which is great. Focus on that, but work on other skills outside of basketball if this plan does not work out that you can use in any other industry. Even if it's basketball, you're not playing, but you can still be involved in it some type of way, whether that's sales, whether that's marketing or anything like that. So that's where I was like, man, if I would have 2012 been learning about the stock market or learning about sales, learning about negotiation strategies, man, where would I be at today?
Right.
Do
you think the military is the same way? A lot of people in the military?
I think a lot of people join the military and say, I'm going to retire from there. And you're going to know in the first 2 years whether or not you're really.
And for the ones who don't.
Yeah, and it kind of puts you in a holding pattern. The military is really good about giving you education benefits even when you're in. So you can go to school at night. There's lots of plans for that. And they're really giving the same advice you're giving. Like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's a big world out there.
I had another question for you. And I forgot it. Shoot, what was it?
Was it about like the advice with giving a player, like spinning off of that?
Yeah, probably. It's going to come back to me. What's up next for you? Like, what are your big plans right now?
So,
I know my question.
Okay, there you go.
I just remembered.
There it is.
I remembered my question. The question is, what is, like, in your opinion, the biggest difference when you have a dream, a goal, a hobby, but then turning it into professional, into a profession and a business, so that you can stay around it. So even if you're not playing, you're managing, you're coaching, you're representing people. What is that shift in your brain when you realize, like, okay, this is what I'm going to dedicate myself to, but it looks different than what I thought it was maybe when I was 16. Like, how do you reconcile that in your mind? And how do you, like, what tactics do you use to stay on point?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's when you have love and passion for something, there's going to be a lot of adversities that come, like, that's going to knock you off. And you can, like, you're creative, right? You're a creative. And if you don't have passion for your thinking of the dream or goal you have, man, these adversities are going to knock you off and you're going to quit fast. You're going to quit instantly. So that's one thing that I really tailored myself to know, that I know basketball is me. I'm born to be a basketball player. It's like birds. They're born to fly and build nest. Like, I'm born to play basketball, and I'm born to use the knowledge and skills I have with basketball. And it's like, man, I wanna play professional basketball, but man, I really love helping people, right? With basketball. coaching, and I got that from coaching and training with the Atlanta Hawks and doing individuals and one-on-ones and running my own academies. And then I found myself also helping guys get jobs for free. And they always say, if you can do something for free for 20 years, that this is your vertical, this is your industry, this is your love, this is your God-given talent, and nothing's going to knock you off course. I've done so much free work with this industry, professional basketball, and helping people pursue their dreams. I said, you know what? I'm going to put a name behind it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can do this for free. And I think a lot of people miss that in life in general. You know, they're working their 9 to 5, but they're not happy.
Yeah.
They can't work at a Dick's Sporting Goods for free. Right? Like, or even people with their own businesses and companies, like someone selling cookies, but they're not enjoying it because it's not cookies you need to sell. You're just doing it for the money, right? You need to do it because you want to serve. That's what we're here on earth for, to serve people. You're a creative director. You guys love to serve people like me, to get here and share my story, film, take pictures, and see your work shown around the world. That's what it's about. Yeah. So if you don't have that mindset, if you don't have that passion around what you're doing in life, you're going to know, like, this is the keys right here. Everyone asks, what's the keys to success? What can you do for free for 20 years?
Yeah. I still love cookies.
Start a bakery, then.
Okay. So I actually have a theory in my head.
Yeah.
When you know, sometimes if you want something, you don't say it out loud because you're afraid someone's
going to steal it, take it. Yeah.
So I think that for some reason, I think that the nature of the universe, in a way, and I don't think it's negative, but I think that there's a law with that when you make up your mind to do something, that you want it to do something, then the universe lines up in a way against you to see if you really want to do that.
1,000%.
Because when you have an idea, it's like, you know, from the couch, the idea is great, and you're visualizing it, and it's gonna be amazing, and no problems. Hey man, this is gonna be my life forever. It's gonna be wonderful. But then when you do want something, well, all these little things start to pop up. They get in the way. You don't have enough time, or somebody else needs something, or there's no money. And I think all of those things are just a test. I think the universe is saying it's out here and you can get it, but you do have to work for it.
Yeah.
And I think that resistance, maybe it's the resistance, like Pressfield mentioned before, but it's that resistance that actually makes it worthwhile, but it also calls the herd a little bit.
Trust, right? Like, you're in the Army, right? Like, you served, and this commander is going to send his best soldiers that he can trust, that he's been battle tested, right? It's the same with life. Like, if I want to be a professional basketball player, life is going to battle test you first.
Yeah.
Before you're able to get trusted with that gift. So yeah, I like what you just said.
Yeah. And it's hard I can't really put it into words really the way I mean it, but I've always kind of felt that. And it's never been a reason to get down, but it's just, don't expect it to be easy. Right. And nothing worth having is easy. So
social media makes it look easy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, cool, man. We just ran Josh out of here, so I guess it's probably time to wrap this thing up.
Yeah, man. Before
we do, what's up next for you? Like, what are next steps?
Next steps is ramping up Dreamcatch management. We've got some huge signings we haven't announced yet, but nice. growing the company and continuing to, gain more relationships with decision makers. Yeah. That's the next step, is getting in the doors with these decision makers, getting more contacts, because we have an overflow of players right now that are really talented. And we want to be able to make sure we have the right, situations built for them to, help them out. Yeah. And on the other end, we have a lot of jobs coming in, but we don't have the right profiles. So it's a catch-22, double-edged sword. So I think prospecting heavier, and getting in the right rooms with decision makers and scaling the company. So yeah,
that's awesome, man. Like, we're kind of going through some of the same growing pains, and And business problems are just as much fun to solve as creative problems.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, all right, man. Listen, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you,
in.
Andrew.
Dude, we'll
Yes, sir.
stay in touch and big things are coming.
Hey, Paper Studio. Shout out Paper Studio. Shout out to all my clients. I did say I was going to shout out Antonio Hester. Going to the Philippines, PBA. Congrats to you, man. And also shout out to Andrew, your family.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm telling you guys, like, from bottom of my heart, I've been working with Andrew since last year. He did my photo shoot. We're working on a little film. Like, he does it all, guys. So come to his studio, Charlotte. We outside.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, sir.